Hello mga ka-chat and welcome to the KJ Conversations, where today we are going to answer some of your questions. You are here on the KJ Teacher channel. I'm so glad that you could join us again today for another kwentuhan session with Pat and Jack about surrender and letting go. What I'm especially excited about today is answering the questions we collected from our followers on the KJ Teacher Facebook page. And as promised, we are going to choose three of the best questions from the bunch, and we will give a simple prize to the followers who left them for us. But regardless of whether or not you're going to be chosen to win, still, thank you to everyone who took their time to leave those questions, which I'm sure will really help us enrich today's conversation. Without further ado, here's episode 4 of the KJ Conversations, the Letting Go Q&A. So anyway, meron tayong 11 questions galing sa ating mga Facebook followers. And we will try to answer this as profoundly as we can. So, check, I expect yung mga profound na mga answers dyan. Iyon, and also, pipili tayo ng 3 best question. Alam mo yun, yung nag-contribute ng mabuti sa usapan na to. Okay? Sabi ni Marisa Gano, how do you feel when you surrender? Medyo sobrang broad. Napaka-broad nung mga katanungan ni Marisa dito, no?
I think yun yung the beauty of surrendering things, diba? Ako, when I say I surrender things, like I have already finally acknowledged that I don't have a full control over that thing. So I feel relieved.
Sa part ko, I think I feel at peace, finally. Kasi when you surrender, you let go mostly of the worries or the doubt. Kasi what you have is only faith. So when you have just faith, even if yung circumstances sa paligid mo, even if it's bad, you see it as something unpleasant, it doesn't faze you anymore. Okay, gumamit ng word. It doesn't faze. Ano yung meaning ng faze? You're not
shake you.
You're not distracted anymore. It will not shake you anymore. You're not bothered anymore. So, yun siya. Although, sa beginning nun, before surrendering, yun yung, you're anxious, you have a lot of stress. Kasi you feel na you have to let go right away. Pero I think it's a process. Tapos when you finally it's like climbing up a mountain. Tapos when you're at the top, parang that's when you see everything from afar. Ay, nagbigay pa ako ng visualization.
True. Oo, may pa-analogy. Yung final moment na alam mong talagang na-surrender mo na. You feel just lighter. Na parang you know that everything's going to be okay eventually. Na it's going to happen. Kung kailangan niyang mangyari or kung hindi siya mangyayari, okay lang. So, yun nga. Parang wala ka ng burden when you surrender. So, yan. Ang next question natin ay from Owen Ponce. Sabi ni Owen, iba rin ang tanong ni Owen. How can I let go if I don't know I'm holding on?
What you can do, what I do, is I tell myself that I'm going to be okay with or without it. I think I have to recognize that I'm already whole even without it. So, whatever your desire is, para na lang siyang cherry on top. Na if it arrives, then good, you have a bonus. But if not, that's fine. Because you're already fine. Parang okay ka na. So I'm holding on to the desire, but I'm letting go of the doubt, of the disbelief that I'm not gonna have that. The fear that I might not have it.
Pero I feel like, in order to let go of something, parang prerequisite na alam mo that at some point you were holding on to something. Parang hindi mo pwede i-let go ang isang bagay na hindi mo alam na hawak mo pala siya. So, pero tama yung sabi ni Check na meron kang mga aspects of it that you would have to let go. Yung awareness na there is something na you're holding on to, so you could let it go.
Assuming na yung definition niya ng surrender is like, parang kasi by nature, you surrender things that don't serve you anymore. Or number 2, it parang actively ruins you. Okay,
Mm-mm.
so, and then you have to let go of those things, diba?
Mm-mm.
Pero as you said, Kath, I think yung awareness, it's very important. Pero if you're not so aware, or maybe there's signs, when I say signs, parang there are already indications in your life that you have to let go of this thing because it's not serving you well, or it's distracting you, or it's really distracting and also causing
Destructive.
distraction.
Mm-mm.
It's destructive and already. Then yung mga indications na yun, I feel like you should not ignore them. At one point, you would feel it in yourself that this is exhausting me or it's not serving
Mm-mm.
me anymore.
Ayan, thank you sa question mo, Owen. Si
Sorry,
Joaquin
Owen.
naman, si Joaquin Bacod, sabi niya, affirmations for letting go of control. Meron ba kayong mga affirmations na sinasabi sa sarili nyo during the times na you have to let go of something?
Ako, I have a lot of affirmations. And shinare ko siya kay Patty before. And I think nakatulong siya. Yung affirmation na everything is always working out for me.
Mm-mm.
I say that, especially when I feel na I don't have control sa yung like outside forces
Mm-mm.
anymore. What I always tell myself is everything is always working out for me. Everything is always working out for me.
Mm-mm.
And I think it changes my perspective sa mga bagay-bagay. So the more that I believe that everything is always working out for me, the more that I see that everything is always working out for me.
Mm-mm. Ililista ko yan kasi alam mo, I have a page sa sa journal ko, nalistahan siya ng mga affirmations na sinasabi ko sa sarili ko na when I need, an extra boost, binabalikan ko talaga yung page na yun to read some of them. Meron din ako ditong sinulat na isang affirmation. I read this somewhere. Tapos, ang sabi dito is, I am grateful that everything that's happening to me right now is for my highest good, whether I understand it or not. Na parang you could let go of all your expectations about certain situations if you just know na kahit anong mangyari, it's for your highest good pa din. Regardless, kung naiintindihan mo man siya o hindi. Like, eventually, it's going to make sense. And meron din ako ditong isa pang sinulat na sabi ko naman dito, I'm grateful that I am no longer in charge of my life, but I am submitting to God's perfect plan for me. Although, syempre, hindi siya something na kapag sinabi mo, oops, okay ka na agad. But it's something you have to internalize every time.
Yeah.
Kaya nga, affirmations na kailangan mo sabihin sa sarili mo all the time. Ikaw, Pat, meron ka bang mga ganyang statements din for yourself?
Yeah, actually, I've experienced that recently, very recently. Kasi as I've mentioned, Kat, earlier, while we're waiting for check, yung struggle in securing my requirements for this very life-changing event. Okay, so, and because I'm an overthinker, super duper, I would always think of the worst thing that could happen. So, to the point that it's physically manifesting na masakit siya sa ulo. This is not really affirmation, but more on strategy that I do. So, I write them down, my worries, through a prayer though. So, if I don't pray hindi man out loud, pero usually I speak when I pray. Pero when it's too much, like I just write them down so that I can also acknowledge the things that are bothering me. Tapos recently, that's why I also grabbed my journal, is because recently I wrote na, Patty, God has your best interest, surrender and trust. So it always calms me down to know that God loves me more than I love myself. So, and more than anyone in this world. So that means that He always has my best interest in mind. So whatever happens, as you said, Kath, even if you don't understand it, even if things are not going well at the moment, when you're secured that there's somebody out there who has your best interest in mind, you can totally surrender. So parang binanggit din ni Cha kanina, yung you operate on faith. Kasi that's basically, it feels good to not know that you don't have that kind of power to have all the results laid in front of you.
Uy, actually, natutunan ko kay Check yun. Yung, ah, nabanggit mo to before, na you write your fears down, tapos you reply with an affirmation. Parang you change,
You change.
you change it to an affirmation. So, I think it's a good practice. Na kasi ina-acknowledge mo yung fear, but you're also finding a way to
That's fun.
reverse it to something that would work better for you.
Sometimes people think na when you say an affirmation, it's like a magic spell na parang it will erase all your problem. Pero you have to stick with an affirmation that you believe in. Kasi if you don't believe your affirmation, wala siyang effect sa'yo. Parang nagbasa ka lang ng textbook na hindi mo naiintindihan. So, kaya nga, di ba you said, you have to say it over and over again. Hanggang sa ma-reprogram siya sa mind mo. Tapos, yung magiging belief system mo.
So, thank you, Joaquin. Actually, yung next question is also from Joaquin.
Parang ni Joaquin, ha? Ang
Marami
dami
yata siyang pinagdadaanan sa life about
Joaquin,
letting go.
mag-PM ka na lang. Sabi.
Next time pag
Pag
nag-live
tayo
kami,
nag-group,
kung sakaling mag-live kami
sumama
next
ka.
time, Joaquin na, manood ka at bugbugin mo kami ng questions. Pero itong next question niya is, medyo masakit ang question na to. Sabi niya, how can you let go of people who obviously don't want you in the first place? Difficult
Joaquin?
medyo difficult yung situation mo, Joaquin, na to want to be in another person's life, pero this other person doesn't want to be in yours.
Want you to be in,
Oo.
yeah.
Meron akong narinig na isang relationship coach. Sabi niya, there are times when you should invest sa mga two people in the same way that they invest in you. Although may mga situations din naman na you would want to go the extra mile and those kinds of things. Pero I feel like if you already did your part and they are not willing to meet you halfway, eventually you will learn na it's time for them naman to make the move. And if they don't, love yourself enough to, alam mo yun, back off na din.
It's interesting na you mention love yourself kasi I think isa siya sa dapat na strongest foundation mo. You have to marry yourself. Napanood ko siya sa isang TED Talk. And what does that mean? It means na you commit to yourself for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health. And it symbolizes that if you commit to yourself, you know your worth, you know your boundaries. It doesn't mean na hindi ka magta-try. If you like someone, you can try to win their heart, for example. But if they're obviously telling you na parang they don't like you, you have to know na your worth doesn't depend on them. It's difficult. It's gonna be a process, especially if nag-invest ka naman. But I think if you love yourself enough, not in a narcissistic way, if you love yourself enough to know that you don't have to feel that kind of hurt, I think ikaw na rin mismo sa sarili mo magsasabi na maybe it's better to spend your time somewhere else or to spend your time loving yourself more instead of giving it to people who obviously don't need it.
Joaquin, I really believe that forced connections are exhausting. Though we would like to care for people as much as we want to care for them, at a certain point, you will feel when it's not reciprocated. Though I know naman, hindi naman kailangan lagi nire-reciprocate. But you can feel when your energy is reciprocated. So at least man lang, in terms of effort, in investing in whatever relationship you're talking about, that can be friendship, if romantic man yung context ng question ni Joaquin. May mga tao talaga na you wanna care for, diba? And you wanna be part of their lives. However, that is a choice of that person if that person wants you in his or her life. So you can only force your way so much, okay? So that means if you really care about that person,
Pati okay ka lang ba?
hindi.
Pero
Okay ka lang ba?
What I'm saying is there are people you wanna care for, you can still care for them at a distance.
Going back to the question kasi ni Joaquin, talagang of people who obviously don't want you
Oo
in the
eh. Alam
first
na
place.
alam
Na
mo na.
parang alam niya na this person talaga or these people
Joaquin,
don't
wag
want
na.
them in the first place. So I feel like there's a very thin line dun sa parang offering ourselves or caring for someone and forcing ourselves on someone. Okay.
Baka may third question pa si Joaquin.
Actually, chine-check ko nga, wala na si Joaquin. So, okay
Wala na
muna
si
siya for
Joaquin.
now.
Siya doon.
Next time ka na ulit, Joaquin. Kota ka na today. Yung next naman, parehas sila halos ng question. Si Cara Jung and si Che Miriales. Sabi ni Cara, when is the right or best time to let go and surrender? Tapos, sabi naman ni Che, kailan yung tamang oras para i-surrender or i-let go mo na ang isang bagay? You would know parang instinctively that something is not right anymore na or something has to be let go already because you know na it's beyond your control already. So I think ano siya it's a moment of sudden realization, like epiphany yung mga moments na ganyan na magsusurrender ka.
There's no process kasi life doesn't have a manual, di ba? It doesn't tell you na okay, by step 5 dapat na let go mo na. I think it has a process that you have to go through, and letting go of different aspects sa life natin goes through different stages of surrendering them. So if it's like a very small desire, it's going to be easier. If it's a desire that you really love, it's going to be a little bit harder, a little bit longer. And it's up to the person. Parang hanggang kailan mo pa kaya. Hanggang kailan mo pa kaya na magpaka-masochista at i-feel lahat ng pain. Sometimes it's easier to just believe na everything is just going to crumble into pieces. It's easier to do that. But if exhausted ka na, parang finally you gave up sa whatever it is that you're thinking. I think that's the time that you let go. It's really a process that we have to go through, and it's really different from one person and from one aspect to another.
I liked it when he highlighted na there are different stages of surrendering kasi you'll experience na makikipag-bargain ka pa sa sarili mo. Right? Na hindi, kaya ko pa to, kaya isipin ko pa siya, o kaya I can still hold on to this, whatever that may be. So, pero I think as what he said, you really have to go through the process kasi if you rush things, hindi rin siya ganun ka magiging successful because you're gonna go back to it. Always gonna go back to it. So magre-regress ka rin at the end of the day. So huwag mo siyang madiliin but at the same time do not dwell. Pero I mean, I think you have to go through the process para hindi hilaw yung pagle-let go mo or pagsa-surrender mo.
Pag wala ka nang paki sa outcome, hindi ka na nag-expect. You're hoping but you're not expecting. I think that's the best time to surrender. Pero pag gusto mo pa mag-expect tapos masaktan for, a little while.
Choice niya naman yun.
Huwag muna. Hold on to it.
Oo, choice niya. Tama yan eh. Choice niya yun. Pero kapag umabot ka na sa point na feeling mo nagawa mo na lahat ng pwede mong gawin at wala ka ng ibang idadagdag pa doon. And everything after that is beyond your control. Surrender mo na, Beshi. Oo. Tigilan mo na.
I think yun siya. That's the best time.
Salamat sa inyo, Cara and Che. So that's the right and best time to let go and surrender. So next naman is from Rowena Villareno. Sabi niya, is it right to give up on something you once wished for? Something that used to be your reason for happiness? How would you know if it's time to give up? Do you think it would be worth it?
Isa-isahin natin yan, Rowena.
Daming mga pinagdaanan.
Okay, can I
Rowena.
answer first?
Sige, go ahead, Pat.
Yes, dear. It's perfectly okay for you to give that up. And it's your right to give that up because in the first place, you were the one who said that you liked it, that you wanted that, and that was your source of happiness. So that means whoever can end that is only you, dear. So you can, that's correct. Also, secondly, kasi baka comfort zone kasi yun eh, di ba? Parang kunwari when you really want something, example lang, kunwari sa career, you really wanted to be a teacher, tapos merong shift ka ng passion midway, baka kasi ang feeling ni Rowena is parang it's a betrayal to whatever she has wanted Okay, at the onset. So, pwede rin namang sa ibang aspects pa. Pero, you also have to recognize, Rowan, na you're changing. So, you change. You are constantly changing. And the ones that you have loved deeply before, it is possible that you don't love them now the same way.
Siguro ako sasagutin ko na lang yung part ng question niya na, do you think it would be worth it? Kung mag-change ka man, kung magle-let go ka ng isang bagay that used to bring you happiness for something that will bring you happiness now, it is definitely going to be worth it. Kasi tama yung term ni Check na if it's for your personal well-being, bakit naman siya hindi magiging worth it? 'Di ba? If it brings you happiness, if it brings you peace, if it gives you hope for your future, of course, it's definitely going to be worth it. So, siguro may mga bagay lang talaga sa buhay natin that we have to leave behind para makapag-accommodate tayo ng something better for us.
Unless you think you're the same person you were 10 years ago, which I hope not, because I think people are meant to grow. People are meant to change, actually. People are meant to develop. And if you feel na you're a different person now, you shouldn't feel bad that you have to leave other people or other things behind.
Correct.
Because not everything and not everyone is meant to be on your journey. They're just part of it.
Thank you, Rowena. Marami kaming na dyan sa question mo. Okay. So, next naman is from Jenny. Jenny Labutap. Sabi niya, what motivates you to surrender or to give up something in your life?
For me, what motivates me is the idea of not knowing what's about to come. Or like the surprise. Yung surprise, the delightful surprises of life. Parang ganun. I put it in that phrase kasi it feels nice when I say delightful. Parang surprise na nga. I mean, not all surprises are delightful. So I say the delightful surprises of life or the delightful gifts of life. That's what motivates me to surrender. Kasi if something is not meant for me to hold, it means that there is something really, really perfect that is supposed to be in my life.
Siguro lang kasi I'm at the point in my life when I want new things. So it's for growth. I don't want to be stuck in the same things. So yan. So I think that's my current motivation. I'd say current motivation for growth, for surrendering. It's more on growth and new things.
Eto, si question number 9, meron pa siyang pa-quote. So, ito si Ma'am Yen, co-teacher ko to eh. Si Ma'am Yen Arceta, top fan siya ng the KJ Teacher Facebook page. Wow. Sabi niya, as an old cliche said, mending a broken heart takes time. But, how do you really heal a broken heart? Can broken hearts be healed? How long does it take to really let go and say goodbye to someone you still love so much? So, I feel like this is a very specific scenario ng letting go. Feeling ko dun sa last question, how long does it take? There's no specific time. Parang each person has their own time. May mga tao na mabilis makaget over. May mga tao din na matagal yung process. Depende sa level ng experiences nila, sa anong klaseng relationship. So, there's really no specific formula or timeline for how long it takes for someone to fully let go of someone they love so much. Pero doon sa question na can a broken heart be healed? Definitely. Pero dito ko hihingi ng tulong sa inyo. How do you heal? How do you really heal a broken heart?
I think you have to acknowledge first that your heart is not broken. Siguro other people could have hurt you in the past. Siguro it's not broken, maybe it's just bruised. And just like yung mga pasa mo, it takes time for that to heal. And it differs kada pasa. Depende kung gaano kasakit. But if you really felt that your heart was broken, definitely you can put that into pieces again. Use the same pieces or maybe leave the rest. Have new pieces somewhere else, and then make a better heart. Make a new and a better heart. And I think that's nice. It's nice na parang we recycle. Yung idea of recycling, di ba? when we recycle things, we don't use all of the parts. So the parts that you think will hurt you more, toss them somewhere else. Maybe other people need that kind of part. Tapos how long does it take to fully let go? Um, I think you can continue loving them. And if you truly love them, parang you'll be fine knowing that, because you don't know, not everybody has to end up with each other. So the fact that you still love them and want their happiness, I think that could be like the greatest gift that you could give to someone you truly love, who found a different path maybe. You shouldn't be finding your other half, because you should know that you're the whole. You're just looking for another whole person to share your life.
Compliment. Yung the way you love this person, the way you care about this person, you also have to have that kind of energy for yourself.
Definitely.
So if you love this person, all the more that you should love yourself as well, 'di ba? So kasi parang minsan when you are experiencing a heartbreak, parang what you're always thinking of is how important this person to me is, something like that. And the happy memories maybe that you shared. Allow memories to be memories. So parang you can revisit them, but maybe revisit them in ways that would not cause your regression. So always moving forward. So yun lang.
May naalala ko because of that. You find yourself missing a relationship. Remind yourself that you were one half of that relationship. Na if that relationship was a happy relationship, a part of it was because of you too. Hindi lang dahil dun sa other person. Thank you, Ma'am Yen, for sending in this question. And now we have to move on to question number 10. Sabi ni Karine Guillermo, surrendering is a daily process. Have we surrendered everything? What facets of our lives do we still need to surrender unto God? Well, hindi namin alam currently, Karine, kung ano na yung mga na-surrender mo kay God. Pero, ano bang mga tayo sa experience natin, what facets of our lives do we need to surrender?
Sometimes we're so into thinking of what's gonna happen in the future that we forget the now. So I think it's good to surrender the future without compromising your future by wasting your now. Pero at the same time, not overdwelling in the future that you forget your now. Parang you just do whatever you can do at the moment and what the moment requires you to do. And stay here. Pero that doesn't mean you're giving up on a good future or you don't have any plans or dreams, but do not overdwell there because you're not there yet.
And I think it's thinking that we are in control of everything.
Yeah.
Like life needs a little bit of our effort. Siyempre, parang you cannot expect na you graduate college if you don't go to school. So it needs your physical effort sometimes to physically go to schools, to be present there. But I think yung micro managing life na when you get it's nice to plan in the future, pero like if you're planning every single thing and every single step, that's gonna be exhausting. Kasi what if 30 ka na tapos you still are not married, but in your outline nung 17 years old ka, you should already have a house with 2 children, something like that. So I think yung presence ng control sa life, I think that's something. That's one thing that I am learning how to let go of.
One of the things na ako personally need to let go of is yung desired outcome. Yung meron akong picture ng exactly kung ano yung gusto kong mangyari. May very thin line dun sa nire-request mo tong prayer na to. kay God dun sa dinedemand mo yung prayer mo.
Mm.
Kasi 'di ba, those are two different things na yung mga prayers natin, they're only petitions, parang they're only appeals, and it's up to God kung approved ba yung proposal mo na yan or hindi. And chances are, baka yung gusto ni God para sa'yo is so much better than what you are expecting. So, may mga stages halimbawa or leading up to, let's say, the fulfillment of your dreams na medyo iba dun sa ine-expect mong dapat na process of things. Tapos eventually you will realize pala na kinailangan mangyari nitong mga bumps na to and all these things to make the fulfillment of your desire all the more beautiful, na mas maganda pa siya than you expected. So yun, yung prayers mo, don't demand them. Just request them with humility and submitting to, but if this is not what you want for me, take it away from me or give me something better.
Personal experience then, like whenever I pray, sometimes before I pray, I already know what I want to pray. And really, Lord, I want this, something like that. Okay, pero during prayer, pag nandun ako sa quiet time, I'm always reminded na it's always God's will. So, I'd say na if it's your will, then allow this to happen. Now, if if my desire is not your will, can you give me a heart that allows to accept whatever your will is? Kasi mahirap siya, di ba? Kasi
Correct.
human nature, meron ka naman ng desire na gusto mo mangyari. Pero also asking in humility and na God would give you a heart that would accept. I think that's gonna calm your heart as well.
Thank you, Karine. Last question from Hyun Jang Nin. What are the tips that you can give for someone who can't let go of someone or something so dear to him or her, still holding back because of so much attachment, even if it's not good or healthy for him or her anymore?
Because the more that you know yourself, the more that you'll realize how you wanted to be treated. The way other people treat you is a reflection of how you treat yourself. If they see you in a relationship that you like to please other people, then they will continue to do things for you to please them. But if they see you that you're so sure of yourself, you're so confident of yourself, you know how to reward yourself even in the littlest things, parang they will, I think eventually, they will treat you the way you are treating yourself. So I think that's the best tip. Get to know yourself really, really well. Know your value, know your worth. And then from there, yung outside forces, magka-conform sila based on how you see yourself, based on how you see and you treat yourself.
If your mind, your heart, your body is telling you that this does not serve you anymore, kailangan you prepare yourself to find the courage to leave. Gawin mo siya for yourself. And of course, it's not going to be easy. Definitely, it's not going to be easy. Pero take the time to build yourself up to have the courage and the strength to do what's best for you. Kasi sometimes, yung sa mga ganyang relationship siguro, ang hirap kasi you're also thinking about the other person, for example, or let's say you're in a long-term relationship, so you're thinking about the time na na-waste mo, ganyan. But also, think about it. Kung gano'n rin kadami yung time na i-waste mo kung magsistay ka sa isang relationship na hindi naman nagsaserve sa'yo ng tama. Not from a place of pride. Hindi yung sasabihin mo na ang bait-bait ko, I did everything I can, alam mo yun, or ang ganda-ganda ko, sinasayang ako, or something like that. It's not from a place of pride, but from a place of just knowing na you want to take care of yourself. You want to be kind to yourself enough to know na I've had enough of this one. And for my personal peace of mind, I'm going to have to let go.
Ang gusto kong itanong whoever asked this question is, do you honestly see yourself in this kind of relationship? Do you see yourself spending the rest of your life with this person? Like, honestly. Like, can you picture that? Kasi if no, why? Taking into consideration your personality, your dynamics, whatever is happening with you at the moment as well. Yung kayong dalawa, di ba? Kasi kung may mga, syempre wala namang smooth talaga na journey. Pero yung i-qualify mo na yung something as toxic, that's
Mm-mm.
another level of negativity na. So that means you have recognized na it's toxic na on your sa'yo for your end. So ikaw, you have to ask yourself, because if you're just clinging on to this relationship just because you've invested so much, then you're gonna waste even more in the next several years.
Mm.
So I know it's scary, but it's better to leave it than
Mm-mm.
regret it.
Siguro kasi may aspect din dito na baka this person is a comfort zone or alam mo
Yeah,
yun, has
always
been
naman
there for
safe.
oo, parang safe space. Pero kung nakakaramdam ka na ng ganyan, not good or healthy,
Hindi
it's
na
not
yun safe.
it's not a safe space anymore. And tama yung sinabi ni Pate na people you have relationships with are you expect them to be your partner for life, someone you will share life with, someone you will wake up to every day.
Siya makikita mo,
Oo,
Ben.
someone you will make
Sorry.
decisions with
Oo.
for your family,
Mm-mm.
for your kids, or whatever in the future.
I'm sure at the moment, baka iniisip niya na baka hindi na niya, wala na siya makitang tao na magko-connect sa kanya.
In
The way this
same
person
way.
connects with her. Okay?
Mm-mm.
So, that's also one way din kasi of holding on to someone, di ba?
Mm-mm.
Na para I don't think na another person can understand me, may kunwari, yung mga crazy things that you do or whatever. Mga thoughts mo and your tantrums. Kasi may investment na yung time. Pero, I would like to assure her, na you will find that person. So don't be scared of letting go of this person just because you are afraid na there's no another person in the world who will be able to connect with you. You'll be surprised that there will be another person in the world who will connect with you better.
So if you decide to stay with this person a little bit longer, that means you're wasting more time. So the moment that you realize or you acknowledge that it's not healthy anymore, you have to step back and then see your life in the future. And you have so many years to live still. So why don't you use yung years na yon to love yourself, to find other people, to make more connections, instead of thinking na you've spent like little time of your life with this person. At the same time, if for example you've spent like a long period of time with one person and you only have like one day to live, maybe you try to see, would you continue being with that person even if it's bad for just one more day, or would you trade it to be with the most perfect person you can ever find and just spend that single day with that person? So which one would you choose? Something like that.
Tama yun.
That's inspired by One Day by David Nichols.
Oo.
Yes. You have to read that. I have to get the book. Wait lang.
Oo. Sige. Get mo lang yan.
Okay. So, this one.
So yun, those are 11 questions about letting go. First of all, thank you sa mga nagtanong kasi I feel like it was a very enriching conversation. And now it's time for us to choose yung top 3 questions. Ano yung mga questions na nag-strike sa inyo? Yung talagang napaisip kayo ng mabuti.
Gusto ko yung about affirmations. Probably because tinry ko siyang i-develop within the past few months. So, kaya nag-resonate siya.
Joaquin yun di ba? Yung if the person, if they don't want
Obviously
you.
doesn't want you.
In the first place.
I like that person. Parang I remember, mas nag-share din tayo.
Yung sa akin, yung question ni Rowena, yung is it right to give up on something you once wished for?
Yeah. Oo, maganda siya.
Yun. Actually,
Brings you
papayagan ako, ito
happiness.
yung pipiliin mo kasi ito yung ang dami mong sinabi. Yung halos
Yun yung
hindi na
brings
kami
you happiness,
makasabi.
diba?
So, we need one more.
Siguro yung last one is yung co-teacher mo.
Si
Yen.
Ma'am Yen.
Yung about mending a broken heart. Because number 1, I think I gave a good answer there.
Maganda yung sagot niya.
And number
Depende
2,
pala sa sagot.
niya.
I think
Sagot niya.
why is it good? I think it's just a nice question. It's nice to talk about yung the ugly side of relationships and how we deal with with how we can deal with those.
Winner yung questions ni
Comment lang
Joaquin
mo.
about affirmation and about people who don't want you in the first place. So, 1 point ka doon, Joaquin. And then, the second winner is si Rowena Villareno, yung kanyang question about letting go of things that used to be your reason for happiness. And finally, si Ma'am Yen about the healing of broken hearts and how long it takes to let go of someone you love. So, but regardless of whether nanalo kayo or hindi, thank you pa din to all the questions kasi they really gave us something to talk about. Also, I'm looking forward to another episode of the KJ Conversations. Yung, remember when we talked about habit formation? I feel like it's a good topic kasi it has to do with improving yourself, yung growing yourself. Kasi part of surrender is making sure that you're strong, 'di ba? Kakasama siya kasi it needs strength, and in order for you to be strong, you have to, alam mo yun, have a stable and a certain level of stability in your life, which comes from, of course, habit formation. So let's talk about that also in the future. Unless, of course, meron pang mga mag-leave ng question in this episode. So, please don't be shy. Itanong nyo na, Joaquin, baka may mga iba ka pang questions dyan. Iwanan mo na sa comment section. Or baka may mga friends ka na mga may similar experience. Go ahead and leave them down below and we are happy to answer them. So, once again, thank you, Pat and Check, for taking the time to have this episode with me. See you again next time. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end of this episode of the KJ Conversations. We sincerely hope that you were able to pick something up and learn from it as much as we did. And if you found this helpful, please don't forget to like this video, leave us a comment, and maybe even share this video to your friends and loved ones. And also, please subscribe to the KJ Teacher channel for more enriching chats and conversations. See you again next time.